Yes, thank you very much for the introduction. Yeah, I'm representing Kiwi Holding. It is the holding on which is the leader today in Russia in electronic commerce and mobile payments segment. We are a former startup, 10 years in the market. We really expanding very rapidly. First, of course, in the former USSR, but now we are also coming to America, South America, and other Europe countries also. My topic today is about the compliance and fraud management because these 2 points are really essential from our point of view, dealing with the security of corporate interests. So a few words about fraud. All of you, of course, know what is fraud, but only to highlight that it is really the intentional deception to make the person gain. We had the same clause in Russian criminal code, which is up to 10 years sentence if the person is caught. But for today, we separate the cybercrime and fraudulent activity in Russia. There are really few cases for that, but of course the threat of fraud is really international, and the sound issues we came in before shows that really fraud is something which happens in every country and in big corporations and sometimes not so big corporations. So we need definitely to establish the control framework to deal with that. So again, why I'm speaking about fraud and compliance today? Because we see that as a real threat, and we deal with that every day. And I suppose you also deal with that every day. And compliance itself, as the set of regulation, set of behavior ethics, as a system, is a key component to fight fraud. Again, what I should highlight that now is the new era. Before, we were searching for persons who theft money, who misappropriated our assets, who forged physical documents. Now it is the new age. It is forged electronic signatures, forged documents, it is carding, and all the really high-tech and high-skilled criminal activities, especially in the new internet world. So it is really the challenge. The challenge is, especially for financial industry, that first, the main one is that the money really should be protected. Second one is that that threat profile is really evolving, and evolving every day, every minute, every second. And also, especially for finance and banking industry, the regulations are very tight. And for security manager, it is important also to balance the spending on security to protect all of this. And everything should be done together and simultaneously. And this is the really challenge. We need definitely to focus our strategy on the effective, proactive way to manage our activities. So, what to do with that? What is our strategy and on that? We need to establish the flexible control environment. They need to have controls which can be easily and swiftly adapted to the evolving threats. We need definitely to create the real controls, the controls which provide the protection, which are not written on paper, but which really provide a consistent approach to protection of our interests. And I'm sure all of you can ask the simple questions. Okay, guys, we know how we deal with security in our banks, now our firms, our industry, our organizations. And knowing all of that, would you put your money inside your entity? Are you really sure that this money is protected? And that is the key question. First, you need to answer and to be trustful with yourself to answer this point. And also the obvious point is that people used to make mistakes, but we don't pay attention to that. Really, we must learn the wisdom of the foolish of others. It is really important because with this huge amount of information passing through us, we need to catch that and see how we can apply that to our current environment. And here, how compliance can help. Of course, there are lots of different types of compliance. It is statutory, of course. It is industry standards, your own regulations, ethics, behavior, things like that. But compliance is not only the point to check something. Compliance is really the culture inside the company. Compliance is the wisdom inside the company how to effectively do business and in that case stay inside the requirements of laws. This slide is only to give you the brief and very small overview on the applicable regulations in Russia, only for banking industry. Of course, you can see, for example, ISO and PCI DSS. It is normal because it is international standards. But see how many regulations we have, at least on information security, and for financial, especially for anti-money laundering and fighting terrorism, also. Really plenty of facts, and we need to understand how to apply all of them and do it in an effective way. So it is what I am calling really the challenge for us. So to do with threat. Next slide, I suppose, is very well known to risk managers. It is the ERM framework about controlled environment, feedback, ethical behavior. And when we establish the system of activities which provide you compliance, it is all about the establishing the control framework to manage risks and the risks of fraud as the essential part of it. When you do that, of course you set the norms and regulations. You provide clear controls to mitigate and deal with these risks. You establish these controls inside the business environment and finally embed it into the culture of your organization. What is important that these controls are naturally the part of the culture. They are not living outside your business. They must live inside and do not prevent your business from doing business. They should be together. It is very important. So, few words about how we deal with that in Kiwi. It is our practical experience. We deal, of course, we straightforward to ISO norms as the set of regulation for information security management, for operational management of security. And of course, we take inside the PCI DSS requirement because we deal with banking cards, and I represent the bank also. For privacy, there was big talks today about privacy. Privacy, of course, is essential, and especially in Russia, we have very strict and very tight regulation on privacy protection. It is, of course, coherent with Europe norms and the American ones, but what is important to understand that sometimes in Russia the regulation itself is not to help business. It is really to provide some sort of assurance for government to deal with this business, naturally. And that's why the compliance aspect is very important. One norm highlighted by the end is the one which was created not long ago, approximately several months before, but to regulate especially the electronic payments market. And for you also to understand how the compliance is governed in Russia. this regulation was developed for 2 months with at least 5 or 7 sub-norms within it, dealing with security, with AML and so. And for privacy one, it has taken several years. So imagine, if you want to understand how to deal with the compliance issues in Russia, you need really to put your focus on that. Otherwise, it would be really costly. So on security management, what is essential, it is our vision, is to start really from the top. For example, we have Vice President on security who is guiding us through our activities. We have a good security team inside. It is diverse because we have the security agents inside each company of the holding. And of course, the close relations between departments, the cross-department awareness is also essential. We need to educate each other all the time. Otherwise, we will be working in separate dimensions. From operational security, of course, it is these practices are very well known for you, so I won't highlight anything. Only to say that we really focus on real protection. Compliance itself provides lots of papers. Of course, it is important, but you also need to provide real security, and not only put gaps in your checkboxes. Business continuity, why it is here? Because when you deal with a disaster, you think nothing about but dealing with this disaster. And you need also to take the fraud risk inside that. You need to understand how to implement anti-fraud practice inside business continuity planning. You need to understand what to do in case someone wants to steal something in case of disaster. It is very important. Obviously, we don't impose that there is absolute protection. Of course not. But at least we can focus on our protection and focus on really key risks and deal with that. Concerning the fraud management, when we are speaking about some external fraud, I mean the fraud inside our system provided by malicious agents, what we can do? Of course, from the banking side, it is essential to establish the cross-banking relations to exchange with the information how and who provides the fraudulent activity. Also, it is, especially in Russia, very important to deal closely with enforcement agencies. They provide the key support for us, and we provide the support for them, fighting fraud, fighting anti-money laundering, and to have the efficient and effective cooperation. From the internal point of view, we implemented the online monitoring system. All of our transactions are caught by this system and put through several scoring filters, of course using the manual operators. But each transaction is analyzed. It is very important. For example, only for you to understand, in AML regulation in Russia sets up if there is a transaction more than $20,000 through the day, and it is not reported to the dedicated government agency, the bank license will be cancelled. I think you have something like that in your world, but for us, it is one of the major risks. Once more about AML, what we do to fight that. We provide limits, we provide scoring, we analyze anomalies, and day to day we analyze the new possibilities to conduct fraud through our system. If we are speaking about internal fraud, the fraud which comes through, from our employees, of course, duty separation is essential. we force vacations inside our companies to analyze what the person is doing when he's absent. And of course, we implement the best practice and core practices like Visa KYC, for example, know your customer. Even inside cross-department relations, we need to trust each other fully, but check also fully our internal processes. Few words about the balance. I also highlighted that the balance between security and compliance is essential. And our position on that point is the compliance itself is not equal to security, but the security itself requires compliance. We are sure that the compliance approach itself should be wise. It should be practical, and it should be helping business to do business and not creating compliance for only to create compliance. That's why the top-down approach, for example, is essential. Finally, why I'm talking about that all? Because the key issue for us, and I am sure that it is the key issue for all of you, is to build assurance and build trust with our clients, our partners, in our services. And bearing in mind the aspects of anti-fraud, the aspects of compliance, it would be the key point for us to provide this assurance, these reliable services for our clients and partners. Thank you.